Hello, I was going to say that on this week's show we're getting low down and dirty, but in fact it's more kind of high up and dirty. Hello and welcome to Two Wheels Extra. This week we get low down and dirty as we go off-roading crazy. Fran will be getting kitted up in some serious off-road clothing. We'll get Green Lanning advice from the police, and I get some thorough off-road training from a guy who makes it all look so easy. When you think about it, it's amazing how many of us actually started on off-road bikes. There might have been the old Kawasaki KMX 125 or the Yamaha DT 125, but whichever one it was, there's no doubt they were a great introduction to bikes and bike control, which means this should be familiar territory. So, first impressions of the KTM. Have I mentioned, by the way, that it's over a decade and a half since I sat astride an off-roader? Well, it is, and I very much felt it. There's a huge reserve of power. It's a two-stroke and makes an incredibly aggressive noise. The gearing, not surprisingly, is low for fast pickup, and it's very, very easy to loft the front wheel at the slightest provocation. Could be a bit of problem here. Seems like off-road riders are perhaps a bit longer in the leg than me. Now, it's been 15 years since I've ridden anything with knobbly tyres. Yeah, I know, it's obvious, but we'll get to that later in the show. But there couldn't be a much more exciting reintroduction to it than that. It is seriously single-minded. What an incredible thing. It's also very, very tall. This is a serious piece of off-roading kit, as far from the two-wheeled tractors that I learnt on as it's possible to get. It might look basic, but every single part on this bike is essential. There is no wasted weight or space. The bike has been set up for serious competitive enduro use, and that is reflected in just the quality of the parts used. I was immediately overwhelmed by the feeling of just being able to go anywhere. The sophistication of the bike, despite its rather agricultural looks, is astonishing. The suspension soaked up bumps on fast lanes, on tracks and serious off-road stuff, not that I'm capable of that, like I couldn't believe. Obstacles that came my way and I thought, that's it, I'm off and in the ditch, were immediately soaked up by the suspension. I swear, I need stabilisers on that thing. Oh, hello civilization. Hello comfort. An electric start. Oh. The TDM immediately feels like a big, comfy, friendly bike. The seat is comfortable, the riding position is comfortable, even the engine, a nice lumpy twin with plenty of torque from low down, is somehow comfortable. Mind you, for all of its comfort, it's no slouch. Start to move it along a bit. Once you've really relaxed into the bike, you can get a bit of a scurry on. You know, when you look at it, I know it's a road bike, but you can see the off-road influence in the styling somewhere buried. The TDM has been around for a while now. Some might say that styling is starting to look a little dated. Personally, I think it's not overstated and perhaps just quiet enough to get away with it. The fairing, though small and perhaps a little odd looking, is effective at keeping the worst of the wind and weather off you, the rider. The dash layout is simple, clear and easy to read. And if you're going to be perched on the back for any length of time, it's certainly not an unaccommodating pillion. Its off-road-ish looks belie its on-road performance. It might look tall, but the centre of gravity is actually lower than you would think, making it very easy to ride through the twisty bits. It's certainly not a challenging bike, but it is eager and willing and ready when you want to step up the pace a bit.
What we need to do now is put you in the positions before we actually start riding, so you can understand and get the feeling before we ride off. First of all, we'll run with the sitting down attack position. So sit your bum right forward, put your hands on the controls, just raise your elbows. You should have the feeling that all the force of the forks are coming up in a straight line, travelling up through there. The further you can get onto that line, the better. Your main consideration is to get that position. It's for instance, it's like getting the feeling of a press up on the handlebars. With your elbows down, you've got so much little control and strength, you have to hold on tight. In that position you can relax your grip but still have a good strong posture. Now your body position is not too bad, but when you sit down, if you stand up again, common mistakes is guys just sit down. Now straight away we're off the position, you're in trouble. So you need to concentrate on sitting right up, stand up and then sit down. Stand up again into that position and then sit right down into the wheel. Okay, get that feeling. The best way to slow down is to restrict the turning of a wheel as opposed to lock the wheels. If you feel as your wheels are locking, you've lost control, let the brakes off. We've conveniently placed a big river at the bottom, which will be a nice soft landing for you if you overrun slightly.
So while Richard's outside playing in the mud, I've come inside for this week's fashion slot, and I'm going to show you some serious off-road kit. So we're going to start with the boots. These are a Gayern RX boot. They're £146, and as if you don't know already, the importance of an off-road boot is the rather large shin protector and the ankle protector. And they're very, very stiff, but very comfortable. Now these are the Kenny trousers. These are £70 and they're made from Cordura, Shula Kevlar and a bit of nylon. And they're made from those fabrics because that means they're easy to keep clean. Now armour wise, they only have a little bit of soft armour on the hip, but what you can do is buy some knee pads. These are the basic ones. These are about £20 and of course a little something for the guys. It's quite important as well. And basically you just pop those in and off you go. Pretty snazzy. And this is the Max shirt. This is £22. It's bright, I know, but you can pay £40 for one of these. Now, you should actually have a full body armour underneath, complete with upper arm protection, and they cost about £78. There is no armour in this, of course, because you have it on underneath. And these are Danny Sport gloves. Now these are made from neoprene, again for easy cleaning. These are very reasonably priced at £16, but you can pay up to about 50 quid for a pair of good motocross gloves. And of course, let's not forget the head. Now I'm wearing a Laser MX-5 Pro helmet and it's a 2001 model. And I know this because it's got the chrome peak. Now this is about £120, but you can pay 200 plus for a decent motocross helmet. Now one thing we've forgotten are goggles. Now for these you'd pay about £45, but for these that are rather more plain you'd pay £33. Now let's just recap on what I'm wearing. So there's not much change out of 500 quid, but I'm kitted out from head to toe. Now all I need is a bike.
Now earlier on in the programme, I had to go off-roading and it didn't go that well. Well, actually, this happened. Yeah, so obviously I've got quite a lot to learn, and it's been suggested there's a place where I can come and do that, and that's why I've come here to this hill with all this mud to meet Barry. So what are you going to do to me today then, Barry?
Well, hopefully we're just going to run through some basics and try and brush your skills and keep you alive.
So what kind of people do you get coming along and doing this? Who are you training?
The majority of my business now comes from the road bike rider, the born again biker, guy who's just started road bike riding, wants to get in some dirt bikes. We give them the opportunity to come and ride a bike in a fairly safe and controlled environment.
So what are they actually going to get out of it? What are they going to get from it?
I think initially they come to have a bit of a crack with the bikes, bring the mates along and show how good they are. By the end of the day, they've improved their skills. We've showed them the difference between road bike riding and dirt bike riding. A lot of guys go away thinking they need to learn a little bit more, because obviously they realise how bad they are at just basic control, throttle control, brakes and general balance.
Right, so can these skills kind of translate from off-road back onto road riding?
They do. Obviously the modern motorcycle now on the road is so well designed, it can almost do the journey on its own. You just point it roughly in the right direction. Dirt bike is slightly different. Your body position plays a much greater part. You need to have a good centre of gravity. You need to understand where the grip is, which can then transfer onto the road, and you'll have better reactions. You'll be able to anticipate a lot better.
Okay, so presumably you're going to have to see me ride this, are you?
The first part would be just to assess your riding ability. You obviously understand throttle and brakes and bits and bobs like that. We need to get you used to a dirt bike, and just obviously I need to assess your riding ability and see what I've let myself in for.
Right, well I think that's enough of that for now. God, it's tiring. I suppose we've got to see what Barry reckons. I just hope he's kind. Barry? Yeah.
Okay, not too bad at all. We just need to brush up on a few things. Obviously you've just been riding up and down a flat area to make it as easy as possible. But on the whole, you're a typical road bike rider experiencing dirt biking for the first time. We need to concentrate on getting smarten up those basic controls, and should have no problem at all.
Okay, so it doesn't have an electric start. Stupid idea. Electric starts were invented to make this easier. What's the point? Hey, I never said I was rugged, did I? After the break, small bloke, big bike, really big hill. See you then. Welcome back to Two Wheels Extra. After my disastrous showing earlier on in the programme, I'm being taught how to ride off-road properly.
First thing is you need to know how to ride the bike. The best way to ride a bike is really have a low forward centre of gravity. The best way to do that is really to sit on the bike. It allows you to sit right forward. In this position we can keep a low forward centre of gravity, our head and chest further forward. Our main aim should be to get as much body weight as possible over the front tyre. Allow the front tyre to find grip. Common mistakes which you're suffering with a little bit is that road bike riders tend to sit in the middle of the seat, tend to lean back a little bit, which takes the weight off the front tyre. Now in these slick conditions that can cause so many problems where you actually lose steering. So what we're going to concentrate on first of all is just getting your bum as far forward up the seat. The seat's designed to help get your weight forward. Head and chest further forward so you're leaning over the front end of the bike, and then just raise your elbows up into what we call an attack position. In this position we can negotiate all the turns and keep the weight on the front end. The bike should do what we ask it to do.
Everything that Barry says, where to sit, when to stand, how much power to give it, works. Just do what he says. Start skiing off-piste and it's going to get messy. It is possible to fall off on Barry's courses, but if you follow his advice, you shouldn't.
Okay, now we've moved on from the sitting down position. The next progression is obviously learning how to stand up on the bike properly. Obviously 90% of the riding should be done in the standing up position. It allows the suspension to do more of the work, gives you a lot easier ride, allows you to save energy. Common mistakes which you're suffering from is a lot of guys tend to just, when they stand up, is really just take the bum off the seat and end up having such an angle in the legs, they've got nothing to, they don't stand up properly and they end up collapsing on the bike, uses too much energy. What you need to be able to do is to stand up but still keep a forward and a fairly low centre of gravity. That's done by actually straightening the legs and still keeping your head and chest over the front of the handlebars. We can just move from this position into that position, legs straight, nice pivot at the hips, just rest down on your handlebars, nice throttle control, and look where you're going. That's just a basic.
Anybody who's ever plonked around a field on a little old scrambler bike on a farm when they were a kid will find this familiar territory. Of course, when you're a kid, you don't get scared. Even going in a straight line can be a challenge. With a reasonable amount of power and plenty of bumps, it's very easy to get a bit of a wiggle on.
Okay, now we need to move on to some cornering technique. Your cornering's not too bad. You've got a common mistake, which is you're riding the dirt bike like a road bike. Your body position tends to be in a little bit of the middle of the bike, your weight's off the front end. For cornering, the first tip I can give you really is to make sure you maintain that good attack, sit down attack position. That's fairly important whatever kind of corners you do. The next thing is, most road bike riders tend to look, when they're on the road, they look ahead 80 or 90 yards at any one time. When they start to get onto a dirt bike, straight away they're negotiating ruts and bumps, which for the first time is quite daunting. So they're looking down, where you need to get the whole fluid motion done in one easy move. That can be achieved by, once you've checked your line, once you enter the corner in a good attack position, pick your chin up, look ahead, and the bike will turn around the corner. Where you're looking is normally where you end up.
Another useful thing I found was just to have a kind of faith that eventually the back end will follow the front, even if sometimes you think it might not. The proper name for this apparently is a berm. I've got another name for it. It's called an utter. Ooh.
Okay, now what we need to do is try and get you to negotiate some hills. Give yourself some fun, have a bit of a thrill at the same time. One or two basics you need to consider. First of all, a lot of common mistakes is that when people let the bike start to go down a hill and let the front end drop down the hill, your natural instinct is to lean back. In most cases, that can be the worst thing you possibly do. As you lean, as the front's dipping away, you lean back, the back end of the bike hits you up the backside and pitches you over the handlebars. 9 times out of 10, when somebody crashes down a hill, it's because the back end of the bike has catapulted them out of control. So what you need to do is still maintain the good low forward centre of gravity, so that the bike, in effect, the front and the back wheel are like a seesaw. You stay in the middle of the bike where it pivots. As the bike drops down the hill, you can still keep the centre of the bike, and all the front end will do all the work. As soon as you lean back, the bike drops away, pitches you out of control. So it's basically the same thing, just a little bit more grit and determination.
The last time I stood at the top of something this steep, I had a sledge and I was 7 and I wasn't frightened.
If you panic and overdo the braking, why do you want to stop halfway down the hill? The secret is to get down to the bottom. So, and in doubt, let the brakes off. There's always something at the bottom that will stop you. In our case, it's a 20-foot river. Okay, now we've negotiated the hill. What we need to do is give you an option, just in case for some fluke of nature you don't manage to get up the hill. You need to know how to escape in the safest possible way. Remembering safety has got to be your #1 priority. As we approach the hill and all of a sudden you're halfway up, if you find that you can't make the hill, you've got to also anticipate that slightly. Turn the bike to the right and then fold the bike so you're high side up the hill, so that your body weight goes into the hill. Then in this position, as the bike is now, you'll find that you can take a breather, reassess the situation, and it's so much easier to turn around and go back down the hill in control rather than lose the bike and then flip the bike over. If you're in the middle of the desert and you crashed on a hill, it could be the end of everything. So you need to be able to anticipate when something's not going to quite happen. Okay?
Okay, so got down and missed the river. Now what goes down must come up. I can already start to feel the benefits this might bring to my road bike handling, just from bike confidence. I must say that has been really, really useful. Thank you, Barry. It's increased my bike confidence anyway. Now, you've sorted out a bike for me, so we can go off on a bit of a trail, yeah? Excellent. After you.
Come on then, Rich.
Well, I enjoy Green Lanning and I enjoy off-road motorcycling. The only advice I can give is the usual advice: don't try and do more than you're capable of doing. Don't follow your friends just because you think you can keep up with them, because invariably you can't. And if you come to a very big deep puddle, I've had personal experience of this, don't go flying through it assuming it's shallow, because they're not. They're invariably very, very deep. And if you do see some ramblers or other countryside users, always stop and have a chat with them, because they tend to make you very welcoming and they're happy to talk to you about motorcycling in the countryside.
On the show next week, Richard and I travel to London to check out the ever-increasing scooter scene. We look at biking fashion that could double up on the street. And we put 2 cruiser scoots to the test. See you next week.